Hi, my name is Irfan. I'm with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension. This part of the training is dealing with how to actually contribute and resources related to the Pollinator Citizen Science Project. The first thing you want to do is bookmark this page. To get to the project webpage, go to sixleggedaggie.com/pollinator-project. Here we'll have all the information on how to contribute, these training videos, identification guides, and Q&A. That's what I'm going to be walking you through here. When you get to this website, you'll notice one of the first things is a little brief summary about what the project is about and seeing some of the results from 2019. You click on this and you'll see some of the results that we have so far, and we are continuing to analyze that data. One thing you'll notice about this website is we'll probably update it and change it quite a bit over time. So although it looks like this right now in this training, this website is constantly evolving. So things may look a bit different by the time you're contributing to it. You start going down a bit lower. Now we're getting into 2020 Pollinator Citizen Science Project. There are 3 steps to start contributing to this project. Step 1 is to view the training videos. Currently, we have the live stream video, essentially, that was put on Facebook during the webinar, but I'll be replacing these with more tailored and edited training videos for your viewing. You click down here, this will actually provide you with a PDF of the training handout provided by Dr. Mike Merchant, for anyone who might want that handy. The next thing you need to do is complete the Google Forms quiz. All citizen scientists must achieve at least an 80% grade or higher in order to be contributors to this project. So if we click on this, you'll see here one of the first things it asks is for your email address. It's very important to use the same email address here that you plan on using in the actual observation forms. The reason is because we use this email as your identification, essentially, of knowing that you have completed the quiz with at least 80% passing grade. And so anytime you contribute to the pollinator observation form, we will know to count those observations. We ask for another couple general questions like your full name and which best describes you. And from there are the quiz questions. You must get, again, at least 80% or higher. But don't fret, you have unlimited tries. So if you don't get it right the first time, you can go back and see what questions you got incorrect and redo the quiz. It's very important for our citizen scientists to complete this so we have some assurance that the data being collected is done in a consistent manner, that everyone has a general understanding of the principles and methods in which to collect this data in a consistent way. Once you get the 80% or higher grade, you'll receive a certificate in your email along with a link to start contributing to this project. Going back to the project page, you'll also notice we have an identification guide. This is a double-sided guide that you can print and laminate, and you can take it out in the field with you to help you identify some of the different types of pollinators you'll find in Texas and in Oklahoma related to this project, as well as a QR code to start contributing, and some other guidelines of how to distinguish bees from flies or bees and wasps. Once you've completed those, you can now start contributing. So this is where you go to our contribution form. Again, make sure you've completed that quiz already for 2020. Clicking that will bring you over to the observation form. You'll notice one of the first things that it asks is, have you made an observation within the last 2 hours? The purpose of this question is to try and make life a bit easier for our citizen scientists. If you click no, nothing changes and you just continue on. Whereas if this is your first observation in the last 2 hours, we ask you to click yes. Any subsequent one within those couple hours, you can click no. The purpose is when you hit yes, it asks for some more specific identifying information, location information, date, time, and temperature. Information that, quite frankly, we don't need you to have to repeat if you're taking several subsequent observations one after another. So this is to help y'all who might be taking multiple observations within a short period of time. Again, use the same email you used in your Google Forms quiz. And then for your location, you can hit this button right here. This one will actually auto-populate the longitude and latitude with your approximate location. Doesn't need to be exact. If you want, you can go through and click a slightly more precise location. And you'll notice when you first open up this form on, say, an iPhone or an Android, it might ask you if this website is allowed to use your location. So make sure you have location services on and that you say yes, so that it can easily track where you are and auto-populate that for you. Unfortunately, the search for places or address doesn't quite work correctly, and we're working with owner forms to try and correct it, but it looks like at this time it is not supported. Then enter your current date and time. You'll notice if you click on these fields, it automatically selects today's date and time for you. Now, if you are inputting some written data information in here, right, so someone else recorded on a piece of paper and now you're putting it in the online form, make sure you change this date and time to be correct. Next, you want to put in the temperature in Fahrenheit. Now, you'll notice something that's a little bit different from last year's form is the Latin name is actually a requirement, and it's a search field. So as you start typing it in, it'll narrow down some of the different plant options for you. If your plant is not listed, you can type other. When you do so, it provides a space to put in the species binomial name. It is very important to people include the species binomial Latin name. If you don't know what it is, then you can ask your local county agent or other master gardeners. If you know the common name of your plant, usually a quick Google search might show you what that species name is if that common name is specific to a particular species. But it's very important to have this binomial Latin species name in there because that's the only way of us really knowing whether the plant that you're observing is the same species that everyone else is talking about. So the plant identifying feature is very important. You'll also notice there's no room to put multiple plant species in here. These observations are for single plant species at a time because we're trying to determine how attractive one particular species is. So this does not work if you're looking at a mixture of flowers or pots within a single container. You really need to be looking at a patch of just one single species. Next, we ask you to include cultivar if it is known. This would also be very helpful information as cultivar can be quite different in terms of pollinator attractiveness. Next is how much of the plant is in bloom. This is going to be different and relative to each different plant species you're observing. If you go back to Dr. Mike Merchant's training, that's part 1, he shows some images that demonstrate these 4 different categories, less than 25 all the way up to more than 75. So if that specific plant is in peak bloom, that's going to be in more than 75%. If it's working towards peak bloom or starting to senesce or decrease in bloom, it's starting to work down that ranking. Something that's also a bit different this year than last year is the bloom color. We're asking everyone to pick the dominant bloom color rather than picking every color that's inside that bloom. The reason for this is because it was very challenging trying to analyze data in which there is several different bloom colors identified with each plant species. Because it was really hard to tease apart which color was more dominant or which one was particularly minor and which one was maybe more important in attracting the pollinators. So in this case, we're asking you to just select the most dominant bloom color at the time of the observation. When we get to this next part, this is when you're actually making your observation. Start your 60-second timer and start counting the different bee categories or pollinator categories that you see on that plant. Now, a challenge here is that sometimes you might find a lot of pollinators on a specific plant. It doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it does. We ask you to just provide the best estimate of the number of these different pollinator categories on that plant for that 60-second period of time. You will also notice that we have defaulted all these values to 0 to make it easier for you. So make sure that if there are any pollinators in there, they do actually enter the correct number. Lastly, these 2 options right here are optional. You can upload a photo if you'd like us to perhaps verify some particular plant species. You can take a photo directly on your phone. Or if you'd like to provide some feedback, you're more than welcome to do so here as well. Click Submit, and that'll submit your data directly to us. Going back to the project page, you can see right here we have the Pollinator Citizen Science mail list. If you're not already on our MailChimp mail listserv, I highly encourage you to subscribe. That is the main way we're going to communicate with you in terms of any updates or changes or requests or anything like that. So make sure you subscribe here. Next, you'll see our team. Again, we ask you to work with your local master gardeners or county agents if you're having difficulty with plant species identification. We've brought Dr. Vikram Baliga on board to also help with that as well, to be an additional resource. And lastly, you'll see here the Q&A section where we have some of the most commonly asked questions, whether it be during the webinar or in email. So if you have any questions about how to contribute or questions about just the pollinators in general, pollinator identification, or resources, please come check out this Q&A first before contacting us. That is all you need really to start contributing to the Pollinator Citizen Science Project. Thank you so much for contributing. We're looking forward to some excellent data. So your next step now is to make sure you complete the Pollinator Citizen Science quiz that is found here and get that passing grade of 80% or higher, and then you can start contributing.